and this episode is going to shift the gears for us. All this while, Surya and I, we both were venting out. We were talking about why we couldn't do that, why we couldn't do this. And we were also not finding a proper path in which how are we going to proceed things further, and we were just experimenting. We wanted to kick in the momentum, and that's why we wanted to record our raw thoughts, what we are going through internally, how we are handling it between us. The best part right now is, after a lot of reflection and a couple of more insights from our newer and dear ones, what we have understood is we are already doing something that most of most of the people we were in touch with, they were already asking us these things. And that's when we thought, okay, why not talk about this in the podcast? And the very first topic that we want to touch upon today in our podcast is how to ask questions. And in order to do this with us, always we have the most enigmatic, the most handsome, ever smiling, energetic person with us, the one who asks so many questions, lot of questions. Who can do this better than him with us? Let's welcome Surya on stage with us with a big round of applause. Surya, we are going to talk about how to ask questions in this episode. And my first question to you is how to ask questions. And then when you break this down, I'll move further and I'll ask you other micro questions in which is reading in between the lines when it comes to this topic. Over to you.
I wanted to make sure that I don't cough. Let me first take one thing out, that you are looking so beautiful, Yogeshwari. It's important that I share that. You already given me, you started off with a Yorker and a bouncer put together. So the Yorker is going to bounce from there. So how to ask questions. Now, the whole idea of asking a question is, it's more of a conjunction in a conversation. You're a grammar expert, so a conjunction kind of unites two words or two sentences put together. Same way, a question is a conjunction for a conversation. So again, we can look at all the definition that is there when it comes to a question, but again, it's something that usually needs to have an answer. Now, before we understand this and go deep into it, for me, what begins for a question is the context. The context obviously includes the scenario, the people involved, the people participating within a conversation. And the thing that we ask that takes that conversation forward. That, in simple terms, is a question. Now, what gets complicated is the context itself. Because when we look at the conflicts that arises, whether on a personal level or on a professional level, it arises because of questions, because of not being able to answer questions, and the different variations of questions, the tonality behind the questions, the intention, the metaphor, outcome behind the question. That is what creates more conflicts. So that would be, I hope that kind of summarizes the answer to your question on what is a question or how to ask a question. It's always to set the context. So I hope we can end the podcast right here, isn't it?
Okay, that's a good way to escape from me and from the podcast, but I'm not letting you go away because this one particular topic could be simple, but the day I realized that it's not simple, that's when I started speaking better, which in other terms, I started communicating with the other person better. What is speaking in first place? It is processing the thoughts, organizing it, putting it into words in such a way the person who is listening gets our point. I hope I'm right. Anything other than this is not communication, or it is not speaking, or in other words, it doesn't serve the purpose. I've seen in most of the scenarios when a human being gets angry, everything that goes inside, it's a eruption of volcano. And when that volcano erupts, along with that emotion erupts, and with that emotion we speak things that we shouldn't be speaking, especially with our loved ones, especially when the stakes are high, especially when we need to process the information at that time, but we end up messing it up. And then we go back, sit, and we keep asking ourselves what we shouldn't ask, which is, I could have done that. I should have done that. Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? Right? Now, here comes a follow up thought process. This is not a question for you, but this is a thought process. I believe that in the entire communication or conversation, or it can be with us, within ourselves, it can be with others. I believe the right set of questions gives us the right set of answers or solutions. What are your thoughts on that?
Coming to think of it, questions are the answers. And even before I talk about other scenarios or personal life, professional life, talking to someone else, let's talk about ourselves, right? We know that we should eat healthy, we should eat right, we should work out and everything. Now, the fact that we are working out, it's because we've been able to successfully mm, wade through the question and answer that's going on inside our mind. And the fact that we are not able to work out is also because we were not able to wade through the question and answers. Either way, we are right. So I'm immediately reminded of this example. When my alarm clock rings in the morning, the first thing is, Are yaar, so soon? Really? It's a question. Come on, let's sleep for another 10 minutes, right? There's some people who give the alarm, like if they have to wake up at 6 o'clock, they give it 5:30, 5:40, 5:45, 5:46, 5:47, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, like that, right? So let's sleep for another 10 minutes. Come on. Don't you want a good night's rest? Now, by the way, these are questions that are going on inside. And in order to not make you do the things that you have to do, there are some open-ended questions that that blocks this whole yes or no or rhetorical question. Like, imagine, even if you want to wake up, what are the things you have to do? You have to work out, you have to wake up. These are the conversations that goes on inside. And the day when, God forbid, something happens, health crisis or whatever it is, you're not allowed to eat anything outside. What's the conversation then? Oh, I wish I had taken care of myself. How amazing it would be, wouldn't it? But then that's a question that leads to regret. So it's not just that questions are the answers, but I would even go a step further to say that questions are directly related to our emotions, our feelings, the the way we want to feel, but all that happens in an automated response. And this is not just what happens deep within. Like, I've just taken the internal examples that goes on inside. You look at any conversation from our school days, college days, every single time our parents wanted to reprimand us, or our our school and college teachers were like, you don't even know this particular answer, is it? So questions changed their shapes and forms in different words. Ragging or bullying, uh, you talk about insults, taunts, all these things, questions are there. And again, when you look at the other end of the spectrum, a breakthrough, a bulb on, a transformation, you look at all these big movements that happened. When Martin Luther King Jr. was asked, what is it that you want for America? He said, I have a dream, which, how can I achieve that? When Nelson Mandela came out from the prison 27 years later, he said, how can I destroy this apartheid or whatever, the problems that was going on at Africa at that time? So Questions are not just the answers, questions are thoughts, questions are feelings, questions are emotions. Questions can either create a revolution, questions can destroy anyone to doom and destruction. And every action, decision, choice, thoughts, the questions are that sacred thread that holds everything together. I will also go to certain extent to say that questions are directly related to our performance, to our success or failures, to the way we treat people, to the way we treat ourselves. So it's a huge array that we've just kind of opened up. My God, I didn't really think that these many set of words or these many layers will come out, but that is what it is.
Here, when I was listening to you, here is what my brain is throwing to me, literally. Because we all know that when we listen, we just don't listen. Our brain also, at the same time, processes the information, at the same time, wants to give the answers. So I was actually noting down all those things because I wanted to capture and like give that space to my brain. And here is what I observed. When you said that, when I wake up, and most of us, people like me, we keep alarm every 5 minutes, starting from 5 o'clock if we want to wake up at 6 o'clock. The alarm will keep ringing and we'll never wake up at all. Now, here, one thing which I learned recently, again, it was from you, that instead of asking, so soon the alarm rang, I didn't even sleep properly. Even if I wake up, what am I going to do? Reframing the question gives us the most powerful self, makes us the most powerful self, which is, how happy will I feel if I wake up right now and put on my socks, go for a walk? How happy will my body will feel if I jump out of the bed right now and be my most productive self? Both are questions. One is empowering, the other one is disempowering. Now, this again, I learned it from you. So I just wanted to bring it up to the surface so that we can blend that into our conversation right now. And when you were telling that questions are not just questions, questions are emotions. I was able to, my brain was able to take it to the next level, which is questions are not just emotions, questions are directions. When we ask the right questions, we get the right direction, and we will be able to manipulate our brain for the good, to do what we literally want to do, ideally want to do, be our best self. We can actually help the other person achieve what they want to achieve in a very positive manner. Now, these are two takeaways from me as we were talking about how are we questioning ourselves, because how to ask question, immediately all of us will think, oh yeah, I'm sitting in a meeting, there's a meeting going on, everyone is throwing their points, but I'm not able to do it. I'm just shutting myself down because I don't know how to ask questions or how to put across my point. Now, in order to be your best in your meeting, you need to be your best when you ask the questions to yourself. Surya, do you agree with that?
It's actually a very, very difficult skill which I feel all of us must be taught. But it's not that hard if you look at it. So I've had the blessing of being able to move up the corporate ladder pretty quickly. In my 6.5 years of corporate life, I've had the blessing of getting to speak to people at an executive level, the freshers and all that, on the very same day when I had a meeting with the board of directors of a company. And the kind of questions that is there across these two uh, ends of the spectrum, it baffles me. Because when I look at the top notch, the CEOs and CXOs and stuff, they are always taking a conversation forward. And as you rightly pointed out, direction, which is always aligned to the mission and vision of the company. And that's why the work that they do don't really feel like work. But on the other end of the spectrum, people who are, let's just say, freshers or youngsters, they just join the job because at the end of the day they want the salary at the end of the month. The kind of questions that they ask gives the direction of, not towards the vision or mission, it's towards their own personal joy or enjoyment, fulfillment, whatever at that particular point it depends on. And at the end of the day, what happens is we are not even aware what kind of questions we keep asking ourselves day in and day out, to such an extent where some people are able to go through the worst possible scenarios in life, like born in the slums, beaten and battered by their in-laws or whatever their family members, and however it is a very very dysfunctional family setup, and they just found themselves over there, and yet they break through. And then there are some people who pretty much have everything, a stable job, they have the right salary coming in, they've got the right friends and everything, and yet they feel stuck and stagnant to such an extent that they get into anxiety and depression. Again, the kind of questions that we keep telling ourselves. Because at the end of the day, whenever we ask a question, there is an answer. In fact, I'd love to demonstrate a very simple activity which happens in every single one of us. And I'm sure at some point of time, we all must have asked ourselves, whoever's watching right now, why am I so dash, fat, thin, ugly, black, whatever, whatever. So the moment I ask myself, why am I so fat? Within nanoseconds, the first answer that comes in, because you are a lazy potato. Of course, a couple of swear words also comes in, which I'm not going to share here. Now, what do you think is going to happen to the self-esteem the moment I allow this internal conversation to happen? Does it stop there? When am I ever going to become fit? You never will, because you're a couch potato. You've not done this for the last 28 years. Do you think you'll be able to do it now? Look at the answer, look at the speed, look at the tonality. This is, by the way, happening right inside, and it's something that you can never escape. The only way you can escape that is when you're scrolling reels and you kind of distract yourself. You fail to realize that those questions are actually directions. Now, let me turn that unconscious questioning pattern into a conscious habit. What kind of a body would I like to have? Something to think about. And guess what? At some point of time, we have asked ourselves this question also, for which we have searched that YouTube video or wanted to purchase that course, went to the gym and wanted to take the membership. What if I'm able to have this kind of a body? What are the things that I need to do? How fast can I get it? How soon can I get it? We all want everything to be fast. But the point that I'm trying to make is, we are holding our own necks, literally putting so much of pressure on ourselves because of the unconscious habit of questioning. And yet, at some point of time or the other, we've asked the right questions also. We've asked the right questions, we've answered the right questions, and that's how we move forward in life. So that's my take on.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Sorry, literally sorry for stopping you here, because when you were sharing that, I also wanted to share this point, which is related to this, which is, what kind of a body do I want, and who has done that before? So please continue.
It's so interesting that you put it across in this way, because now what you have is, we are actually going a level further, right? Questions equals not just answers, but your thoughts, emotions, feelings. And then you put it across beautifully that questions give you directions. Questions also leads you to references and stories and metaphors. So when you realize that just by you asking a question, it opens the doors to opportunities like never before. Now, if anyone in this world has done something that we kind of want to achieve, we know what is it that we need to do. Because the very next question that comes in, okay, if he has done it, how can I do the same? And these days, we have AI, we have ChatGPT, we have uh, so many books and everything, single thing literally in our fingertips right now. We can ask the right set of questions, even with AI, You need to set that context and then ask the question. And that's what prompt engineering is all about, which they are right now introducing in all the engineering syllabuses. But that's a fundamental life skill. So it doesn't really give us not just direction, but references, stories to replicate, and then literally take action when you ask yourself that question. How amazing am I going to feel? What you rightly pointed out, the process of reframing. Uh, and I'm sure at some point of time we all must have played some games or the other, as girls, as guys, anyone. Either we've played cricket, football, any of those running races, Barbie, or whatever it is. We have asked ourselves this question: how amazing am I going to feel when I score the winning runs, or finish this Barbie set, finish this jigsaw puzzle, I end the game, I celebrate with my friends, I win this Uno card game, I eat that particular person's coin in that Ludo set and all. And we have done it, and we have experienced that jubilation and celebration. It's not just that, people around, they celebrated with us as well. Yeah, of course. I'm not talking about the person whose coin we ate off, because they're busy crying. They need to take out a six to come out again and all. I'm not going there that far, but you get the idea. So this is where we are at this present moment. And I'm so happy that the way the conversation has led us through, we are actually, I think, peeling off a lot of layers, because slowly we are getting into the strategy of what to do and how to do, and literally make sure that we are using this as a life skill, as a conscious life skill.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, because I was actually going to shift the gears about how to learn on how to ask questions. Because I remember before meeting you, even I didn't have that skill, because of which I struggled so much, be it conversation with my parents, be it conversation with myself, be it conversation with my friends, or even the person that I loved the most, just because I didn't ask the right question to myself, to the person I love the most, to my parents, to anyone who is a key stakeholder. I literally lost most of the things. First of all, I lost an entire decade. I didn't speak to my parents because I didn't know how to understand them or how to ask the question that I want them to understand. I didn't know how to ask question to myself to understand what do I want in first place. When people asked me, in fact, I remember you asked me, what do you want? I was startled and baffled, and I said, I don't know what I want. What I knew back then was I know what I don't want, but I didn't know what I want. And I'm sure most of us who are watching here could resonate with me, because we all know what to reject. But if someone asks us, what do you want? Like, you're telling me that you don't want this, you don't want that, you don't want that. What do you want? And we go baffled because we didn't ask that question to us. So, to shift here, I wanted to start very gradually, Surya. When can you recall yourself learning this actively, or first time you started asking questions, what was the response from the person, and how did you navigate this entire process? It can be your childhood story, or it can be an incident or situation where you learned it consciously and actively.
I'm immediately reminded of two souls here, and I really want their names to be put up on public. First is Mr. Bobby Baxter. He was my class teacher when I was in class two. And first time, I think he had moved from the St. Paul's convent to our St. Paul's mission school. That was his first year. And every single time he would conduct a class, I have very crystal clear memory on that. He would check our notebooks and he would call us and show us what are the mistakes and all that we did. And I just, I was obviously very scared of him because he used to beat. So and he would tell us to speak in English. Back then, obviously, you don't even know hardly English. So broken English. It said, sir, I ask question, you know, beat. Something like that, I said. And he was like, okay, yeah, yes, Suryadeep, I'll not beat you. Please ask me. And I asked him that question of why learn history? History very boring. Mind bored sleeping, sir. He understood what I was trying to say. And because I asked a why question, he asked me back, what is it that you want? So that was the first time, like right now from memory, what I'm able to understand is even before I ask a question, I'm setting a context. Sir, I want to ask you a question, but please tell me that you will not beat me. And the second episode that I'm able to recall is Dr. Massey. He's Dr. Samuel Massey. He's a savior. Like he's when you meet that person, probably at some point of time, we're going to invite all our teachers for a podcast. Also, that's going to be fun. It's so amazing and miraculous that this person knows how to ask questions, but gives you that space to ask questions. So when I finished my 12th and my brother finished his 10th and we went to meet Dr. Massey, Mummy was told to stand out. And we were with him in his cabin. He had just got a cabin from that year onwards. And I remember him asking us both, forget about your parents, forget about your mom, dad, who tells whatever. What is it that you want to do? If you observe this very, very clearly, he also set the context. Forget about everything. What is it that you want to do? Oftentimes, what happens is we ask a question to someone and that person goes blank because we haven't set any kind of a context. So when he opened that space for us, I was able to share my heart out. Once you ask a question, you need to be in a position to be able to listen. If even after you set the context, there are certain things that comes up by default. If you're setting a context with your parents, let's just say, Mummy, Baba, I want to talk to you about something very special, but something very important, something very personal. And I know that you are going to react, but I would love if you don't. Now, they're already prepared. Even if they get angry, you've already set the context. So it's not going to be that dangerous. So these are the two immediate memories that's coming in my mind. And knowingly, unknowingly, I've been practicing that over the years with my friends, with my family members, with every time I speak on stage. Right now, also, when I'm talking to you, I think uh, I'm not sure whether I did this or not. I have to watch the recording maybe. But setting the context and then sharing the story, the reference, and everything. And that has become a habit. What was even more amazing is when I look at, if you look at some of the greatest speeches on this planet, the greatest TEDx talks and all, you will see that there's a lot of context setting before a question is being asked, whether a presentation ends with a question. The worst part is no one really talks about it. So we don't know the mechanics behind it, the fundamentals behind it, and everything. So these are the two incidents.
Thank you so much, Surya, for recalling that for us and literally putting it out. Especially, I loved when you did a slow motion of the context setting. Can I ask you this, setting the context? Because when you were sharing that, I was able to break it down. And here is what is my learning from that, which is I have seen you set context every single time you want to ask something with me, no matter how small, no matter how big it is. And the best part is, I couldn't do it because my ego comes in. Right now, I'm able to understand that you keep your ego aside, especially second standard. You know that teachers would beat when questions are being asked. Children are being suppressed and made submissive in the school. And everything, all that we listen in the school is shut up and sit down. We've been hearing it over and over and over again, that got primed inside our head. And we assume that if I ask a question, I would be shut up. I would be suppressed. I would be, yeah, please. Wait.
It's funny that you mentioned this point because I just wanted to, it just came in my mind. So I just wanted to add that also. What I do now is unconsciously, I set the context in a very humorous manner. So, for example, if I'm in a live session with a couple and they just uh, shared, a lot of aggressive or whatever, each other's blame game and whatever it is, and I say to them, "No, I have something to ask to each of you, but I need a promise that you will not throw the shoe at me, which will come through the camera and hit my head. Is that okay?" And I ask it with a lot of serious tone, this exact facial expression. And they are rolling on the floor laughing. When you set the context and also ease the nerves, you break the ice, that kind of opens up emotionally to ask those difficult questions as well. So just you were sharing, and within that itself is what this point I just recollected. I thought I'll add in. Yeah, over to you.
Yeah, that's what I was actually sharing, that you keep your ego aside. Right now you call it as humor. People like me, when I didn't know that I have to set context, to me it's like, oh, really? I should bend down and I should be like, can I wanted to share something? Is that okay? Because it's a polite request, right? When it comes to polite request, obviously people like me, we didn't learn that properly. Nobody taught us. I haven't seen anyone doing it. All I saw growing up is questions lead to conflicts. That's what I saw growing up. And when would people ask question? People would ask question when they are about to burst and erupt. How dare you do this? How dare you say that? What gives you permission to do this? Where did you go? Why didn't you tell me? These were the questions that I grew up with. Now, when you told me that I have to set context, I couldn't accept, believe, and adapt to it, because my ego was like, you didn't see anything like this when you grew up. Why should you bend down? But right now, as I started practicing it, I was able to understand that when you asked your teacher, sir, I wanted to ask you something, but I hope you don't beat me up. Right now it's humor. When you are sharing with your clients, that you won't throw the shoe at me, that it'll come through the lens and it'll fall on me. So it's a humor, but again, it needs a lot of humility to create that humor and to create that. So first thing that I learned is to keep the ego aside. Second thing, it breaks the ice, obviously, as you shared. And I was also able to understand that when we set the context, when we make that polite request, it doesn't throw the other person off guard, because we are already priming that person to expect something. And as they expect something, it gives them time to prepare. Yeah.
Two very simple activities which I feel can anyone in this planet can implement. I think we've done this also time to time. So whenever you go to any place, anywhere, the grocery store, the petrol pump, the bank, whatever and all, just ask for something. But just before asking, ask a question. Can I ask you for something, if that's okay? Exactly with this tonality. And 100 out of 100, they say yes. And then you ask. And the moment you ask, what the maximum, what are you going to ask? If you go to the grocery, you'll be like, can I have one more chili piece, if that's okay? You'll face rejections, and that's fine. But they'll smile. Like, it'll be a humorous thing for sure. The smiles will be exchanged. If you go to the petrol pump, you can ask for that last drop of petrol, which I think you've seen me do it so many times, right? So they're going to laugh, they're going to smile. Nothing is a loss for them. If you go to a supermarket, you can ask for a 10% discount, or even better, after you ask the 10% discount, you can actually tell them, can I pay you 10 rupees more? They'll be shocked. And it's crazy how these things impact, because at that evening, you will be the conversation on that dinner table. The second strategy is, how can you package a compliment in the form of a question? And something that I have learned always, thanks to you, is, has anyone ever told you that? That's a big strategy. So you can literally go to the person who from whom you collect your monthly water, or the corporation lady that comes to collect garbage. You can literally walk up and ask them this question: has anyone ever told you that your smile can lighten up the day of someone? They will literally start crying. And I've seen people, in like, I've seen some of the, because I continue to practice this. It doesn't, it's now that you're asking me these questions, I'm able to recollect all these little stupid things that I do. I call it as random acts of kindness. I learned it from someone, I don't even remember whom, but I love doing these little things. And that question itself, the answer is happiness, not for them, for me. It makes me feel very good. So these are the two immediate strategies that can be implemented. The first is, uh, can I request you for something? And then ask something. That little extra piece of rice, that 10 rupees more discount, or even better, give them. At times, yeah, I'm just reminded of a very simple incident. Okay. So when I was coming back from Bangalore to my uh, college and all, so right? Like I used to be a very, very naughty child. I would go to the supermarket and I would do a lot of things that I'm not supposed to do. But that was the first time when I bought chocolates, purchased chocolates, Perk, Snickers, and all. And from that Reliance Fresh till my hostel, every single person who has helped me in some way or the other, the Pani Puri guy, the sugarcane juice lady, the laundry where I used to give clothes. They were husband, wife, and two children. They used to stay there only. The Udupi restaurant that has just opened, the cafe where I used to eat once in a month. I would save up that entire month's thing, and 100 rupees ka sandwich I would have, or a juice I would have. Then the sweepers who would come and often clean our rooms, the security guard, the security guard of the hostel, warden, the people who would cook, and I just distributed chocolates to them. And now that you are asking me this question, uh, I am realizing that I did so by asking them a question. Is it okay if I can ask you for something? And they'll be like, tell me what happened. No, I mean, I was thinking that I wanted to give you something, but I was a little scared whether how you will feel or not. Is it okay if I can just give you that? If you don't like it, you can give it back to me, no issues. And then they would feel a little weird, awkward, like, and then I would give them the chocolate. This is for you. And immediately they would be laughing, they'd be giggling, they're like, and 9 out of 10 times, obviously, I got a big hug and all that. So yeah, I just wanted to add these little, little points. Huh? Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for recalling those beautiful moments. I was able to smile big because of you. And I'm sure people who are listening to it, watching to us, also feeling the same. And to continue the conversation here, as you learned, had this habit and practiced it over and over again, I was able to see that people are more open to you. It's not that hard for people to share their smile with you, their at times their sufferings with you. And that opens up a lot of rapport among people. And it also gives you that subtle benefit over everyone else who is living over there because they know you before. And this is what the power of questions is about. When I grew up before meeting you, I always related questions with conflicts. After meeting you, I understood that questions are a powerful way to build rapport, build relationship, build connections. And I want to take it to the next level, which is all this while we were talking about what's happening inside and how to communicate with probably a third person whom we don't know, how to break ice and everything. And right now, I wanted to is that okay if we move towards one more layer, which is moving on to how to have this ability to question and break the blocks that we have among our loved ones. Because what I'm able to understand this, I'm actually asking from my own personal experience and with the experience that I've seen around people around me. We have grown up in a conservative family where parents, they don't share most of the things to us, and we are not allowed to share most of the, be open to our parents because Indian culture, conservative setup and everything. But right now, as children grow up, conflicts happen. Both the parents and the children are not happy. But this questioning can solve most of the trouble in the family conflicts. How do we approach that? How should we approach that? And what are the benefits that we can achieve?
Actually, I'm immediately reminded of yet another two very short episodes. Okay. Now, right? Like from the looks of it, you can make out that I have been a very, very calm, composed, and very nice child growing up. My parents had absolutely no problems with. I didn't break a single thing in my whole life. It's like that one day, Baba had got a car. My brother loved cars and all. So the car slipped from my hand, fell and broke. So now he thought, oh my God, again, now I have to uh, buy them another car. And because he came back from work, he's obviously, when you come back from work, you're frustrated or whatever, whatever. He gave me nicely, left, right, and center. It was my fault. So I knew. Then we moved from that one room where we used to stay, we moved to the flat, the 2 BHK flat that we are pleasantly staying. So there, one day uh, I was in the washroom and I was playing with that jet spray, and I pulled the jet spray accidentally in such a manner that the nozzle of the jet spray completely came out, and my hands and feet started shivering. I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what to do. So I started crying. I told mummy, mummy, what will I do now? Baba will beat me nice, big, nice thing and big time. And she's like, she would teach me one technique. There's a very superstitious technique where if you write the Bengali letter B in your head 3 times and all, you will not get beaten and all that. She said, just start doing that and all that. I did. But I remember when Baba came in, he freshened up, everything happened. He didn't notice it when he went to the washroom. Then I held my ears like this and I walked up to Baba. I said, Baba, I'm sorry. I want to tell you something. And I would, it would be okay if you don't beat, like you can be angry, but please don't beat me, no, please. Like, what did you do? And the fact that I told this entire statement, right? Please, you can be angry. I know you will be angry, but don't beat me, please. How much ever he would scream, usually parents, we as children, we zone out when they raise their voice. I think at least with me, it happens. I'm not sure about others. We zone out. So, uh, he didn't scream as loud as he usually would. What did you do? That's what his tonality would be before. Now it's like, what did you do? What happened? Tell me. This was what. And then I held his hand, one ear still holding in, held his hand and pointed it towards the jet spray. And then he's like, oh, you broke that, is it? Hmm. When will you stop breaking things? Huh? Every single time we get any new thing, it is being destroyed by your hand. This is traditional dialogue, but it didn't have that anger and that intensity. He said, it's okay, don't be angry, nothing, it's okay. You told me not to beat, fine. So with parents and our loved ones, our problem is we usually have never been taught to express. At least I feel in our culture and our community, we have those hugs and kisses and all those things with my parents, myself and my brother. We still do baby talks with our parents and all those things are there, hugs and kisses are there. But as we grow up, we don't really have any modes of expressing our love to our parents other than buying them things or taking them places and all that. We don't really enjoy that entire thing and we don't share that as well. So the first and foremost thing is to set a longer context with them. So I remember I was in when my dad got me admitted to the dental college also, and we came back from Bangalore to Kolkata after I got admitted. I told him, Baba, I never really, I always used to think that you are the villain of my life. But for the first time ever, I realized you're not the villain, you're the hero. But you used to behave deliberately as an anti hero so that we were always in control. You loved us, but you deliberately did not express as much as we would have wanted to, because you thought that if we don't listen to mummy, mummy will complain to you, you will scream at us, we will at least listen to you, so we'll be on check. When I told this to him, I was able to notice his the little uh, voice getting a little trembling and everything. So somewhere I set the context and I expressed that to them. And for family, I feel at some point of time someone needs to express, and it's too difficult to expect our parents to do that to us. They are old, they are growing, and they've lived quite a lot of planets on this planet Earth. They the last time they probably touched a book was back in their college days and all. Ever since they've been married, we know what marriage and children does to you, right? Like it's a never ending thing. So to expect it from them, that's the first thing to for us to keep it in mind. Don't expect that your parents is going to ask you any questions. They'll ask you questions like, are you okay? Is everything fine? But those questions are not the actual questions. Those questions have an inner question attached to it. The moment they ask, are you okay? They are actually trying to ask you, is your health okay? Is your career okay? Is it okay if I can talk to you right now? Do you have some time for me? But they don't really use those exact words. And it's our responsibility to be able to know that. And that's what I did. I always keep sharing that with my parents a lot recently as well. I told my parents that there are certain, whatever, like they are not really aware about what is it that I do with my life. And they always used to have their taunts or whatever it is. But recently I told them that I really want to open up myself to you, but I am scared. Because even if I do so, you are going to use this in some way or the other, and you'll bring back all these topics and all. That's when they understand. The best part about parents and loved ones, near ones, is they are the first human beings on this planet to understand us. So, for that, if we just have to set some additional context, there's no harm in that. Even if that becomes difficult, then another bigger way to do so is to write them a letter, an open ended letter. Because at the end, there are certain things that is not possible to tell parents, but you have to tell that. So, writing that out as a letter and giving them that letter, uh, setting the context and then giving them the letter, that helps. I haven't tried that out yet because I've been able to pass that barrier of, okay, let me uh, send them a video. I send them a video of me crying and expressing my heart out and all, a couple of months back. So, this would be the immediate action steps. And always making it a priority to speak to them every now and then on what's going on and how are things. And uh, it's being able to understand and try to make that effort. You will never master it. I mean, even now also, whenever I talk to my parents, there's something happens and I snap out, but or they snap out. It's a never ending process, but the effort is what counts. If you put enough efforts, you will realize that you've moved far ahead in this relationship compared to all the others. So uh, recently for Durga Puja, we went to one of my dad's friends, as in juniors' house for Durga Puja and all. And today my parents called me up and they're like, everybody is talking about you. Everybody is saying that you are so good and everything. Uh, and that's what made me realize that I am putting these bare minimum efforts to reconcile with my parents, or trying to be good to them and trying to understand them as much as possible from my end. that has already made me, the world notices it in such a beautiful manner that they think that we are the best children in the world. That's the importance of putting that little bit of an effort. Now, you mentioned about the point of ego. I would say that there's no ego in this. It's not ego that stops us from asking questions. It's not ego that holds us back from setting the context. It's fear of the unknown. And one of the worst things that the world and the human mind has, and maybe that's at least for me, I'm not sure about others, is that we always think of the worst case scenario every single time. The question starts with what if, and the worst thing that can happen. What if I ask something and they get pissed? What if I want to fix something but I mess it up? What if they never understand me? What if they never. We keep talking about this with our friends also, right? Why can't my parents even understand whatever I'm trying to say? It's a part of our vocabulary. Asking questions and using that as a mode of expressing our frustration is a part of our culture. That's why people smoke. That's why people drink too, so that they can kind of distract themselves from the internal questions that's going on, especially related to the personal life and family life and known ones. So it all starts, to summarize, setting a longer context, giving an explanation of the context, and then asking the question. So just a couple of more layers gets added in this. So I hope I did justice to this question of yours, Yogesh.
Of course, this actually opened up so many layers here. What I'm able to understand is when you said that it's not ego, rather it's the fear of unknown. And for me personally, it's the fear of being vulnerable in front of my parents. Because I don't recall myself being vulnerable in front. My parents always thought that I'm the perfect daughter that they have. I can make right choices. Now, when I make wrong choices, I'm so scared to face them. They keep thinking that whatever I say makes sense because my parents haven't studied much and they educated me well. So they thought that I have the right discerning ability. Now, when my decisions fail, now I'm scared. I'm scared of being vulnerable in front of them. And that has created a huge block. As time went on, I started shutting down. And because I started shutting down, I started creating a safe space in that shutting down zone. Like creating a shell around me, hardening myself, that created a rift between myself and my parents, where right now, pretty much, I don't open up in front of them. I don't open up to them. When you said that we need to share a longer context, I was able to feel that you don't just set context, you also make them understand that you are ready to become vulnerable in front of them. Now, I tried doing it once and I broke down in tears because of the overwhelm of emotion. Now, people like me, what is your suggestion for advice?
If there is anyone in this world who will feel your pain more than yourself, it is always your parents and loved ones. They, it's very difficult to explain it in words. Like I'm just trying to process everything that you just asked, and if you are not able to hold your dad's hand and if you're not able to hug him and cry, you are depriving him of being your dad, because that's what dads do, right? That dads don't necessarily are the most emotional beings on the planet. They're, I mean, emotions is something that they don't have. But when you are in a crisis, when you are at your most vulnerable self, that's when your dads are at your rescue. Moms, Moms, I mean, obviously for daughters and sons, it's different. I'm just sharing my perspective in this one based on whatever I've experienced. Moms, they understand the little things, and they want happiness in the little things. So all about a crisis, if you take a crisis to your mom is not even going to consider that as a crisis. Oftentimes what we do is we fail to realize the whom to establish the context for. If you want to set a context of anything that is from the left brain, no, money, house, marriage, uh, all these things that involves money and all, the context needs to be set in front of dad. If you set that in front of mom, you're doomed. Same way, mental health, emotional crisis, uh, relationships, and all. If you set the context in front of dad, you're doomed. You'll only get taunts and everything. And we don't really know this because no one has talked about it. So one of the first things is to be okay to cry in front of them. You're crying and you're being vulnerable only in front of your own parents. In fact, I'll give you this little context and help me with this, okay? Let's just say you're sharing a story in front of uh, an audience. We attended seminars together, right? So you've literally seen that happen. When someone is sharing their story of vulnerability or where they're breaking down while sharing it, what does the speaker do? What does the audience do?
They feel it, they empathize, and they create that space to be vulnerable.
And they clap also. They support, they cheer, they root. If strangers whom we are meeting probably for the first time are reacting in this manner, how much of how much more do you think our parents are going to uh, feel? Maybe they won't be able to express it the way those strangers do because they've been trained or whatever, they've attended seminars before, or they've seen something like this happen, but they will at least feel. If not anything else, they'll just put their hand on, like, it's okay, don't cry. Or for dads, I'll tell you, dads is very dangerous. My brother was crying and Baba was like, don't cry. I'm telling you not to cry. Men don't cry. Like, he started shouting and screaming. But if you translate that shouting and screaming, he's trying to say, like, please don't cry. I'm ready to do everything for you, but I cannot see you like this. Men, they can't express. We know that. Women, they don't want to express, thinking that it's not a big deal, something like that, because they've seen more of life. But that's how parents are. And if you continue crying, you will see that once you've finished crying, then the space automatically has opened up. Then you can set the context. Then you can give them the explanation. Then you can ask the questions. It's difficult. It's easier said than done. But if you break things down, the only thing that is difficult here is our something that is holding us back to be vulnerable in front of our creators, people who literally brought us into this planet Earth. And there shouldn't be any shame in that. Whether you scored nine, like I scored 80, 86 in my 10th, 82 in my 12th. My parents love me. My brother scored 94 in his 12th and became a CA. My parents love him. They love both of us equally. The same way for every parent. It's just that we don't understand the translations. And we've not been, maybe we'll design a course on parenting, parents, whatever, parental vocabulary or whatever. I don't know. We'll probably figure it out. So does that help? Does that answer your question?
Yes, it actually helps a lot. In fact, it also it's all in the head, as you said. There's no one other than our parents can understand our pain better than us. So it that one line summarizes most of my doubts and most of my hesitations. The best thing is when I've seen when I break down, they break down with me. So yeah, the only thing is we are scared of that. We are scared of that situation because we don't do it often. And parental love language, I think, the question. So I'm noting it down right now. And the follow up question about talking to our parents is with this conversation, I was able to break down when you were telling that anything related to money, take it to your mom and you're doomed. Take it to your dad. So, whom should we talk about what? As you said, nobody taught that to us. And right now, that's why I wanted to reiterate it. Feminine energy is more about emotions, and mostly our mothers have it. Masculine energy is more about logic, money, and mostly our dads have that, and that's why they don't have emotions according to us, but they do, just that they don't know how to express. As you said, all they know is to scream. And the translation of it, most often times, it's not anger, rather, it's their concern. With this, I just wanted to ask one final question before we wrap this entire podcast because I couldn't finish this podcast. It's so beautifully helping me more than anyone else, I would say. And I'm sure audience, you people are also feeling the same because here, no preparation, no notes. All we knew before sitting for this podcast is what is the one line topic. Our one line topic is how to ask questions in whatever we are sharing. We are sharing from our vulnerability. We are sharing from completely unprepared, and it just flows. The conversation flows. And that's why I don't want to break it. Rather, I just wanted to finish it with this one question, which is we cannot expect our parents to understand us or ask these questions to us because if we want that change, we should create it. We cannot expect the other person to do it. And one more thing that I loved about the conversation which we had right now is if you cannot speak to your parents directly, write them a letter, send a voice note, or make a video and send it to them over WhatsApp. Most of us, most of the parents, they do have WhatsApp, and that's the best way to break the ice, set the context, and start the conversation. My final question for our podcast is let's just say someone like me who have challenges in talking to our parents, who have challenges in understanding what do I want, who has challenges in asking the right question within myself, within the others. Where should we start? And then we can proceed with the rest of the things.
I think before I answer this question, I am again reminded of two very short episodes. And I'm also going to use these two short episodes to answer the previous question, like how to even get started, as in not just in terms of communicating with them, but also a carry forward to your present question as well. So my dad and I, we never had a good relationship. He was the bread earner. He used to drink. He used to smoke. A lot of things would be there. And mom would always continue portraying Baba as the villain. Then I moved to college and I decided to put in some efforts to get to know him. So I would ask him about his life, about his school, college, how did he meet mummy, and all those things. And that kind of brought us closer. Now I ask him about his perspectives on life, like how do you earn money? What was your mindset when you started? Questions that I can literally ask from a mentor, I ask him. And in a way, that's how you turn your parents not as your friends. Parents can never be your friends, but they can be your, that college senior who's there to help you and support you no matter what, unconditionally. That's how I feel parents are at the end of the day. Coming to mom's side, moms work very hard in their everyday life, and just being grateful about it and helping them out, however little bit possible manner, that itself takes care of everything. If you're able to do a few of the household chores every single time you go, they don't need anything else. If you can give them a rest for a day or two, you don't have to cook anything and all, that's all that they need. Now coming to how do you really even start? And this is not just for family, I think this applies for everyone. The first and the foremost thing is walk up to them. I mean, if you don't know them, you obviously have to set some context, but clearly you know them here. Go and just hug, and don't leave until they want to leave. And when you do that, you will realize that the emotions will pop up. Let it out. Let everything out. If they want to leave, tell them that, is it okay if I can hold you for some time and let all these things out? And they will allow, who knows, they might also break down. And tell them how much you really love them. I feel as children, we don't share that with our parents enough. We don't tell them how much we love them. We do. Oh my God, we do love them more than anything else in this world, but we don't tell. And we never asked ourselves, why don't we tell? So that would be the immediate first step. After that, everything else will fall in its place because they are our parents. They know how to take control of the conversation. They will ask you what's going on, what's happening, why are you like this, what happened, what happened, tell me. Space is already created, and then you can open up. That would be the first step. And I'll also sum up with this, that uh, we started off with how to ask a question, but I think we touched upon a very, very significant element when it comes to building relationships. And from what I observed so far, that slowly, slowly, ever since I was in complete disagreement and I left home, uh, I didn't even want to stay with them because of differences in perspectives, opinions, whatever it is. But over the last couple of years, having somehow slowly, 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 slowly mending the relationship with them, having some kind of a way in which I can talk to them whenever I want, they can talk to me whenever, setting the boundaries and everything. It's it really sets up your relationship, and once it does, you begin to realize that dealing with the world is no big deal at all. You can literally talk to the greatest of CEOs, greatest of founders, and every single thing. It's no big deal. That's how I'd like to sum it up. Yeah.
That was brilliant. Now, when I think about starting with the first step, here are my two follow-up questions. The first one is, should I start asking and bringing clarity to myself first? Should I start questioning myself first to understand what do I want? Or should I directly start with the first step that you gave? And my second question is, let's just say I'm starting with my first step that you gave. What should I do if I have resistance inside that I'm not ready to do that yet? What should I
What you are right now telling is one of the biggest problems that we have in today's world. It's literally the next pandemic, which is called as analysis paralysis. And that's what we don't need. You decide and you do it. Now, the only thing, if you really look at this entire, if you look at the way you ask the question in itself, you know that it's an internal resistance. And the resistance is between your ears, nothing else. And the only way to break it is to do it. If you want to swim, you can read 100 books about swimming. You can analyze as much as possible about swimming, but you'll only learn when you dive into the pool. The same way goes for cycling, goes for speaking, goes for every single skill. If this is a skill that both you and I agree, right, that it's a mandatory skill for us to learn. We've seen, I'm sure everyone we've met, the previous generation, in my case, my uncles and all, their parents have passed away, and they're like, oh, love your parents as until they're alive. You never know when they'll go off and all. They didn't really put in that efforts. Now, if now again, that also comes down to one more set of the sequence of questions that you ask yourself also leads to it, right? In my case, what are the kind of questions that I'm asking? What am I going to lose if I don't break through this resistance today, right now? What is going to happen if I continue the analysis paralysis? What is going to, on the other hand, what's the worst that can happen if I just go and hug them? So it's always a sequence of questions that you need to be able to create as a habit, and that will come over a period of time as you continue doing more of it. And that is bound to create problems also. It's not like it's going to solve. What I realized with my parents is it's never a problem that's solved. It's never a problem that gets solved. You can never have a good, smooth relationship with your parents. What you will have, because again, there will be perspectives, beliefs, they're from that generation, they'll have the societal pressure, all these nonsense will be there. But at the end, to have that clarity, for example, I asked my dad, is this you talking or is it the society talking through you? And he immediately knows it, and he knows that, we are kind of teaming up against the society and all. And that eases the entire thing. So uh, the start is not the problem. The resistances are in the head. At the end is how quickly can you take that action. So I'll tell you the worst thing that happened with me. And again, I'm reminded of that little story which I forgot to share is I went to a seminar a couple of months back, and a part of the seminar was to forgive and forget after a very, very deep meditation. And I had a horrible experience. While the meditation was going on, I just started crying, and I kept on crying, 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 crying. And the task that we were given was we have to call someone whom we don't like and ask for forgiveness or whatever. And I tried calling my parents so many times, like 9, 10 times I tried calling them, but I just was not able to. So I went to WhatsApp, and I did not record the video. I did not record the video. I went to WhatsApp, clicked the video button, and I spoke in the video for how much ever long I wanted to. Like it just lasted 30, 35 seconds. And I told them that I want to tell a lot of things to you. I'm scared of you because I don't know whether you'll scream at me, beat me. I don't know. And I don't want to tell that. So I kind of hide myself, that I don't even want to share anything, or and all these things. I want to tell you everything, but I'm not able to. I'm just not able to. Even now also I tried calling you, but I was just not able to. So I'm sending this video. I love you for whoever you are. I know that you know the best for me. If I made a lot of mistakes in life, I made you suffer so much. I want to say I'm sorry and I love you so much. And I send that entire like send as in WhatsApp was not there. I didn't turn on the internet there. I finished the videos. Then it took me another half an hour to even turn on the video and allow the video to get sent. But I did that. It was a long half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour process. But by the time I finished it, uh, forget about their reactions. I breathed a huge sigh of relief. In the evening, when I spoke to them, Baba, for the first time in his life, he said that he loves me. Mummy was like, you shouldn't be crying like this. Because imagine as a mother, how would I feel my son is crying? Usually men don't cry, right? That logic also applies. And my brother, as usual, oh, what an acting class. Fantastic. That was his reaction. But he's emotionless, so I don't really care. And I think I had sent you also a video, if I recall correctly. Uh, so that is something that I feel is a mandatory thing to do. So even for everyone watching this right now, I know probably it's a very, very long podcast. We didn't even intend this podcast to be this long, but if you've come this far and you are listening, Uh, Call up your parents and tell them how much you love them. If you're too scared to do so, write a letter and post it to them, give it to them, and then walk away. Okay, like give the letter and walk away. Go to a different city altogether, because you never know how they're going to react, and don't wait for that. If you're in a different city, send them a video. Send them a video. Send them by accepting their forgiveness and telling them how much you really love them. It will transform you. It will transform them. And what will begin from that moment on is something out of this world. So those would be the first steps. I mean, getting a little difficult to speak right now. Over to you, Yogesh.
Sorry for making you emotional. Even I'm here full of emotions and like literally I'm holding my tears. I don't want to cry. But you said it's going to be a long process. It was a long process for you. I would love to put it in other words. It's going to be a long battle. Get prepared for the battle. No. Well, it was not a battle. Okay.
That's it's going to be a battle. And the very next thing is, are we going to fight it or not? So it's not just the questions that determines the emotions, it's also the words that we use. Now you see, the fact that you use the word battle, again with parents, is it ever a battle? It never is. But the fact that you shared this was because of our upbringing. Every day was a battle. We did not want to go to school, they forced us to go to school. We didn't want to study, they forced us to study. We don't want to get married, they want to force us to get married. And never ending arguments and all, which has subconsciously programmed us to think that it's a battle. And yet they are our parents, we love them, they love us. What's this hypocritic paradox or the irony or whatever in grammar, oxymoron or whatever you call it, we are going through? We are self inflicting upon ourselves. So it's never a battle. It's just, it's like that. It's like ghost. We are scared, but we know deep down that there's no such thing as ghosts. And yet we watch horror movies and get scared. It's the same way. It's a fox. It's a placebo. It's a pseudo, whatever you want to call it. So it's like that. It's like the cloud that bursts a lot but never really rains, something like that. Whatever. I mean, you would want to look at anything else but a battle. Because at the end, if you're able to get the slightest bit of hope that, okay, what's the worst that can happen is when they see my video, they will probably, in your case, let's just say you decide to send a video, what's the worst that can happen is Amma Appa can drive their scooty to come and see you. Big deal. Who cares? But at least I've expressed the point. And yeah, so I wanted to argue with you a little bit on that point. Yeah, over to you.
I take this good argument as a vocabulary class because you have literally enriched my vocabulary by giving me words like fox, placebo, and whatnot. So
The day you realize, and let that day be right now and today, the day you realize that you are in control of literally everything in your life, your success, your failures, your highs and lows, your goods and bads, the relationships that stay, the relationships that don't, the way you treat people, the way you want to treat people, the personal life, professional life, every single thing, it's only and only up to you. And it all begins with a question. So start asking them more, first to yourself and for the people around. That's the secret ingredient to be more happy, spread more joy, and live a life that truly feels meaningful, where you get to doze off to sleep the moment you close your eyes. And the moment you wake up, you'll get the number two pressure to run into the washroom. I'll sign off with that.
that is lovely and fantastic. See you in the next episode, people. Bye bye. We'll meet you with the same topic in a different area, perspective, and context. Bye bye for now.